This is an NBC 10 News podcast.
And then came December, a day that shattered our sense of peace and took from us 2 members of our family. We saw something remarkable happen in the shadow of those moments. We didn't see a community retreat. We saw a community reach out.
Nearly 6 months after the shootings at Brown, University President Christina Paxson joins us on the aftermath, the plan ahead, tangling with the White House and shoring up the hospital system it just put its name on.
Holding the powerful accountable from Washington, D.C. to right here in southern New England. This is 10 News Conference with Gene Valicenti.
Good morning, I'm Gene Valicenti. This is 10 News Conference. Brown University President Christina Paxson is coming up. I just gave you my syllabus for the next half hour ahead. So you're ready for all of this.
I am forewarned.
Right. You've had a rough 6 months, as everybody at Brown.
Yeah.
And I just want to acknowledge that. You took some tough questioning. You got beat up a little bit. But I'm sure as a human being and as the president, it was a lot to go through. So let me acknowledge that off the top.
Thank you.
We're sympathetic to that. Mm-hmm. That doesn't preclude any hard questions, though. Now, here's the narrative. And you know what? A lot's happened, and there's probably thousands of pages we could pour through. But just people watching the news or watching this today, give me the narrative. A strange guy was spotted around the campus. A homeless man living in the basement of the building alerted authorities to his presence, or at least people in the system to his presence. Nothing happened. There might have been a lack of cameras, a lack of overall security, and the rest is history. They got him. Eventually, he killed himself up in Massachusetts. Is that narrative still stand, or do you want to correct that?
Well, I'll tell you where we are right now.
Yeah.
So after the shooting, and I would say thank you for your comments, because it has been very, very hard on the campus. But like I said at commencement, people are coming together, and that's been marvelous. So after the shooting, we did what I think was the most responsible thing to do. Our corporation, which is our governing board, put together a committee that is overseeing 2 reviews. One is an after-action review, and they are looking really carefully at everything that happened in the months leading up to the shooting, how it was handled on that day. And I have to say, our police officers and the Providence police officers were amazing. And then a broader safety and security assessment to say, okay, how can we move forward? How can we further improve our security and safety on campus? Those reviews are not complete. So when they are complete, and we're thinking end of the summer-ish, because they're doing very extensive, very good work, we commissioned Teneo Risk, which is a global firm that does this kind of work. We will come back to the community with the results of those and what we're going to do about them. And we have a commitment to be transparent. I think that's important. But I will say, there's a lot of misinformation out there, and I look forward to being able to clarify some of that.
No, I knew you were going to say there's legal actions pending. You have lawsuits. There's a lot of money at stake here. This could be tens of billions in settlements, and the lawyers are probably telling you, don't you dare say anything specific about what may or may not have gone right or wrong. But this is not a court of law. This is the court of public opinion. So I'm going to ask those questions again. The narrative that there was a homeless man in the bottom of the building who alerted that someone official, someone in the community, hey, something's not right here. Nothing was done. There was a lack of cameras. What is wrong with that assessment? That's top of the mind. Everybody is going to remember that.
I know. And what I'm saying to you is we have said very clearly that we will tell our full community, including the Providence community and all of your viewers, answers to those questions when the review is done. I don't want to say anything unless I know that I am giving completely accurate, full information. And I'm relying on outside experts to come in and really do that digging. Well, I can't answer that right now. I'm sorry.
I understand. I'm going to press you a little more because that's what we do here. It's been 6 months. You certainly have access now to information to make things clear. What can you tell us about what can you add to the narrative? And I understand you're going to say there's legal action, the law. I get that. But can you give us something here? That you just said that there's some misinformation out there. Do you want to correct some of it?
No, not right now. I don't, because I really do want to wait until these external reviews are done. I will say that there is misinformation. There will be clarification. And I want us to be transparent.
Yep.
We're committed to that, and we want to be accurate. We're committed to that.
Okay. Your future there is up to the corporation. What kind of conversations have you had with them in the aftermath? Are you confident that they have faith in you to continue?
I believe they have faith in me, yes.
And you have faith, you want to stay?
Well, my last contract
Right.
extension went through the end of the 27-28 academic year.
And do you want to make some news here? Or would you like that renewed? Or at some point, everybody's had enough, whether there was a shooting or not. At some point, everybody comes to the end.
It has been 14 years, but I will say the first people to learn about any news on this, the first will be my husband,
okay,
and the second will be the corporation.
Yeah.
So.
All right, so this could be a decision you make independent of whatever view the corporation has on your future or whomever the next person is going to be.
Absolutely, it's a joint decision.
What kind of conversations have you had, though, with the board of, you call them the corporation, the board of trustees?
They're the governing board.
They basically run the university.
They oversee the governance.
Big strokes. What
That's
kind
right.
of conversations did you have with them?
Well, we've had a lot of conversations about how we can investigate December 13th in a way that has a lot of integrity, and make sure that we continue to put safety and security at the heart of everything we do.
Yeah.
We have, over the last 10 years, made extensive investments, continued investments in safety and security at Brown. Spending, 10 years, has gone up by 67%. We have tripled the number of security cameras on campus. We've made $65 million of investments in technology and infrastructure. But we're always looking at how we can do better. And that's the conversation I'm having with them now.
When you say you've tripled the number of security cameras, what's the time period that you've tripled them? Within the past 6 months?
No. Between 2014 up to just before December 13th,
okay,
we went from 400 to 1,200.
Yep.
Since then, we've added hundreds more. A lot of that was actually in the budget and planned. On December 13th, we had cameras sitting on campus that were due for installation.
Okay.
So this is part of a longer project to expand and enhance our security cameras.
Since that date in December, though, actual installation, turning on of cameras, ballpark it, several hundred more?
Yeah, several hundred more so far.
And you've hired a new police chief, former Providence Police Chief Hugh Clements, who you speak very fondly of, and he's well liked in this community. But there are lawsuits pending. There are families of students who lost their lives, families of students, and students who were injured who are suing, and they're going to allege negligence, and that's an easy one. Well, you're putting the cameras up now. And you got rid of the police chief. You have a new police chief. Do you think you're vulnerable on at least those 2 points?
Well, I think, again, if you look at our track record of continuous improvement, continuous investments in safety and security, I'm confident that we can show that we have always put safety and security first at Brown. It's one of the most important things that we do.
What kind of conversations have you had with the faculty in the aftermath of this? They're some of your fiercest critics. That comes with the job. I once told you, you're very well compensated and perks. I said, well, you've got a tough job because you have to fight with that faculty on everything every day.
Yeah. We've been having a lot of conversations, not only with faculty, but also students and staff, about what kind of safety and security environment we want to have on campus. And those are really interesting conversations because universities across the nation tend to be very open places where you can walk onto campus and you can walk into a building.
Your streets are public.
The streets are public. We're integrated with the city of Providence, and people love that openness, but on the other hand, they recognize the need for security. So a lot of the conversations have been like, how can we do the security in a way that preserves the openness and access to campus, but makes people feel and in reality be as safe as possible when they're on the Brown campus.
All right, so for this first segment then, when that report comes in, you promise transparency, you'll let us know exactly what went wrong and what went right and what's the action plan. You're with us until the end of 28, and you yourself will make a decision on whether you want to go forward.
Jointly with the corporation.
And there's nobody right now at the corporation saying you have to go, nothing like that. They have faith in you?
You could ask my chancellor that question, but I believe he would say that he is absolutely.
The chancellor, he's a banker, right?
He's a banker. Brian Moynihan, yes.
Right. By the way, if you look at the corporation, a lot of them are money people. bankers and stockbrokers and things like that. You have a collection of academics and others, but that's always struck me, that the corporation has a lot of Wall Street people, often derided by faculty members and some of the students as kind of the big bad people on Wall Street. Just speak to that for 30 seconds. That's kind of a dichotomy, isn't it?
Well, I love our corporation, and I will say it is very diverse. We have academics, we have bankers, we have tech startup people. What we're looking for is a diverse group. They bring a breadth of experience and background and really understand what governance of an institution means. A lot of people who've been in the business sector, including finance and other businesses, they bring that expertise in governance because they have to do it with their companies. So they, having actually a sitting CEO as chancellor, board chair of the corporation is incredibly valuable.
But it is worth noting that years ago we had the anti-Wall Street protest, and we still have raises, liberalism and this and that, whatever accusations you want to make. Well, look at the board of the corporation. It's interesting looking at where people come from. President Paxson, stay with us. We're going to talk about other things on campus, including tangling with the White House and President Trump, and then your involvement in healthcare. You have your name on the hospitals. This 10 News Conference. More with the president when we come back.
Thank you for turning to 10, your news leader. 10 News Conference with Gene Valicenti continues right now.
Welcome back. Continuing with Brown University President Christina Paxson. Let's go to the White House, tangling with President Trump. You've had your hands full. You agreed to a settlement with the Trump administration that alleged there was widespread anti-Semitism on campus, particularly had a protest at the medical school kicked this off. Let me just read from a Duke Law Review. In response to these investigations, Trump administration froze $510 million in federal funding for Brown, citing concerns over alleged anti-Semitism and DEI initiatives. The university, after months of negotiations, decided to settle this. You've agreed to spend $50 million on workplace development, and you've agreed to make other changes. What was right about Donald Trump's allegations, and what was wrong about them, and what did you agree to do? Well,
let me give you some background first, just so people understand. We do a lot of research, medical research. We're going to talk about healthcare in a few minutes. Alzheimer's, cancer. It's funded mainly by the National Institutes of Health. And in April a year ago, all of that funding was just frozen. And we weren't initially told why. We were submitting bills for research underway. The bills weren't getting paid. That was a problem. And we entered into discussions with the federal government. My main priority was to preserve our ability to do research and education without censorship, which we got. And it was to resolve the ongoing investigations, commit to all of the great work I think we're doing to combat anti-Semitism. And we also agreed to provide some data and also do the workforce development work, which I think is exciting. So I feel pretty good about where we landed.
It was carrot and stick. It had $510 million worth of action. Donald Trump said, you're being anti-Semitic on campus. I'm going to stop that. He got your attention. He got your attention with that.
Yes.
And you're saying that we agreed to a $50 million settlement. We've agreed to make other changes. Is that basically saying because he was right?
Actually, the agreement that we signed has no finding of fault. And I think that's important.
What do you think? Was he right about this?
I have been so committed to combating anti-Semitism on campus, and not just during the Trump administration, but for years. So it was a rocky time during the protests after October 7th, but this is something that we have really worked hard at and that I am personally very committed to. There
was a subsequent compact that you disagreed with, and you pushed back against that. Just give me 30 seconds on that, and then I want to ask you a few more other things about tangling with the Trump administration and his philosophy in general.
So the compact was interesting because it included things that we had not put into our agreement quite purposefully. And my response to the federal government was, look, we just made an agreement with you. I'm not going to go and sign something that includes things that I didn't agree to before. And I think we're fine where we are. And that seems to have worked out.
Okay, carrot and stick, 510, you agreed, you made the settlement, you agreed to making some changes, and you admit there's anti-Semitism on campus.
There's anti-Semitism all over the world.
Did that surprise you, that on a college campus, an Ivy League liberal college campus, that you would have this problem?
Well, like I said, I think anti-Semitism, if you look at the data, has been on the rise, not only in the United States, but all over Europe, around the globe. And I think we all, cities, states, universities, colleges, high schools, have to make a concerted effort to address anti-Semitism, as well as other forms of hate and discrimination grounded in religion and ethnicity. This is really important to what happens on a college campus. We're educating our students to be fair, to be good people.
Now,
that's what we want.
The administration has also made other allegations, and overall that you're too liberal, you're too in step with the DEI crowd, you've made all kinds of mistakes, and he wants to drag you and the rest of the Ivy Leagues to the center, at least to the center. Is that a fair allegation? Keeping in mind, by the way, he didn't win Rhode Island, but he did better than 40%. So a lot of people out there listening agree with the president.
So I think it's very important when we have these discussions about what's right and wrong with higher education to look at the data and look at the facts. There's a lot of things thrown around.
Yeah.
So I'll give you a couple facts that I think are important. National data survey, I think it was done by Lumina Gallup, only 2% of college students across the country feel like they can't be their full selves on their campuses politically. Only 3% of Republicans. There's a view that we are places that are not welcoming to a full range of political viewpoints. I don't think that's true. We have our own survey data that shows that over 90% of Brown students feel like they can complete the requirements of their coursework without suppressing their identities or their beliefs. My own view is that university campuses should be places where students and faculty can explore a full range of ideas. We don't want censorship. We don't want self-censorship. And we have been doing a lot, even predating this administration, to encourage open dialogue and expression on campus. We invite people to campus who come from a full range of political views. So I think some of the stereotype of what happens on a college campus, when you look at the data, you look at the evidence, it just isn't true.
Now, there are some who are very vocal, including that student who's left you since, student Shea. First name, what was his first?
Alex.
Alex Shea.
Yeah.
He tells a very different story. As you know, he also told it to Congress. Did you ever speak to him, by the way?
I have not spoken to Alex Shea.
Did you ever feel the need that you should have had him in and say, Alex, why are you so vocal about
No,
all
it
this?
didn't seem like something that was going to yield a productive outcome.
Okay, all right. On that note, let's switch gears when we come back, talk about the hospital situation. Brown University has its name on the hospitals. Right back. One final segment, Brown University President Christina Paxson. Let's talk healthcare, because Brown now has its logo right on Rhode Island Hospital. We all see it on 95 every day. I just had the president and CEO of Rhode Island Hospital, Fernandez, on the radio. He said, I have to get $70 million of this projected surplus money from the state to shore up the hospital system, which is in crisis. Do you agree that Brown ought to be asking, well, actually it was all the hospitals, not just the Brown system. It was the Care New England, the rest of it. Give us $70 million because we need it right away, an infusion of cash, taxpayer money from the state.
I think the big issue here is that Medicaid reimbursement rates in Rhode Island are below what happens in Massachusetts and Connecticut. They are very low. So we're asking our doctors to take 70, 80 cents on the dollar of what they could get if they moved to another state. Medicaid dollars, if the state puts in, the federal government matches. So actually spending more money on Medicaid not only keeps doctors in Rhode Island and healthcare in Rhode Island, it brings in more federal money. And that's the main point that John Fernandez has been making and other healthcare leaders in the state.
Well, there was $233 million in unforeseen revenue that was going to come into the state, just tax receipt revenue, and he said, I want $70 million of that. We collectively, Care New England, Brown, and the others involved in that, is that a fair to ask of the taxpayers? Give me the $70 million?
Well, I think if you look at what the taxpayers are concerned about, which is a lack of primary care. That's a huge issue.
Yes.
People cannot find doctors. And so unless we shore up our healthcare systems, make them strong, make physicians want to come to work in Rhode Island, we're going to continue to have this problem over time.
I know you say the doctors here are not making what they could make in Massachusetts.
They're not.
All right. That's a hard argument to counter that, but let me try. Someone would say, well, you don't pay for a house here, what you pay in greater Boston, and you'll make money if you you'll make more money if you go to take a job in greater Boston. Is there a relative comparison? Well, doctors in Rhode Island, you're not going to make what you make in Massachusetts, but thank you for staying.
Yeah, well, Massachusetts is much bigger than Boston, and what we've seen are practices that are moving across state lines. They're going to Seekonk and Attleboro. They're going right over the Connecticut line to New London. So we're pushing our doctors away from the state. And
let me counter my own argument. People in Massachusetts pay the same for an appliance as we do.
Exactly.
Or a car as we do.
Yeah.
Or in
groceries.
Groceries, so everything is relative. You could argue this.
Thank you for countering your own argument.
Well, that's part of our job here. Fair and balanced, I suppose. With regard to the health system, is it in crisis?
Crisis may be too strong a word. And again, this is something that I want to be really clear. Brown does not own Brown University Health. We are close partners. We bring research and education. They bring clinical care. We work closely together with Brown University Health, also Care New England, also the VA. Those are really important partners. So I don't want to get out of my lane and start speaking about the economics of the healthcare system. I would say that unless we can solve this reimbursement issue in the coming years, we could see a significant deterioration in the quality of care here.
You need Rhode Island Hospital because you train medical students. They need a hospital.
And Miriam, and it's the whole system.
But it's practical for you. That's why you've partnered with these. You need a place to send your medical students to train.
And that's true. We need a place to train our medical students. Yeah. But we also can do better work if we can partner with healthcare systems on scientific discoveries that translate into clinical care. So let me just give you an example. We do great work in brain science. We do great work in Alzheimer's disease. We have doctors who are doing work that is leading into clinical trials, which will lead into treatments for patients in Rhode Island. So, and what that does too is it helps bring in, sort of develop a life sciences ecosystem where companies that are interested in developing these drugs. So medical education is important, but the scientific discovery, business generation part of the healthcare system, I think is equally important, not only for Brown and the healthcare system, but for Rhode Island's future, for economic development.
We have about 2 minutes. Let me just switch gears here. A couple of prickly questions. Asian Americans are not happy that more of them aren't getting in the Ivy League. They say, we have the goods, here's the scores, here's whatever else you're looking for. Why are you limiting us? Is there validity to that? They were suing up in Boston, going after Harvard. I don't know if you're Brown specifically, but they're saying we present and you're not letting enough of us in because of that. So
the Supreme Court ruling several years ago made it really clear that when we admit students, we cannot look at race and ethnicity. And indeed, quotas for race and ethnicity have been illegal for years. So we don't do that. We have not done that. And I think it's really important that when we look at students we're admitting, we're looking at, we want breadth. We want people from rural areas, urban areas, all over the country, but we're not looking at people according to their race.
We'll hold it there. Thanks for coming in on a very rough year for you, but thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
That's 10 News Conference, #1, longest running political show in Southern New England. Reminder, watch all of our interviews on turnto10.com. Listen on the radio weekends on WPRO. I'm Gene Valicenti. I'll see you on the news next week.